Peace, family. Right back at you with another video, and you tuned in to War for Peace. This video, man, I'm not gonna be too long. I just want to touch on a couple of things I've been hearing, man, in these in the FBA movement, in the ADOS movement. A lot of people in that community are saying that they are indigenous to this land. But I want to say this. They claiming to be indigenous to this land, but they're not giving no details, because as we know, we in North America right now. Me being Caribbean, I will fit in that class, because the simple fact that there were no such thing of borders. You know what I'm saying? Before the Mexican border came about, and we already know that the western part of the United States, Texas, California, was all occupied by the Spaniards. And when you went east, that was occupied by the Europeans, by the Confederates, before they broke off and became the United States. But there was no such thing as the borders. So who's to say if you want to claim indigenous, where the black people was if they was indigenous? We could have been in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Me being from Belize, you know, where it's a lot of blacks in Central America, Honduras, Guatemala, Trinidad, and then you could go all the way to Guyana, all the way down to Brazil. And then when you go east, you hit the islands, you know what I'm saying? You hit Bermuda, all those other islands, Jamaica, the Virgin Islands, and all those places. So who's to say where the blacks was indigenous at? You know what I'm saying? Because there was no such thing of borders. You know what I mean? So when blacks start to say, we was indigenous to this land was only occupied through war, and they made borders, they made lines, and when they beat the Spaniards and made them move more south, California, Texas, and all these western part of the region of America became a part of the United States. So who's to say that blacks wasn't in Mexico? Who's to say that blacks wasn't in Central America? Why do we have to be in North America? Because the Europeans established North America. See, because when you really look at this, man, they want to be a part of the European America. They don't want to be a part of no other America. Because if blacks start to claim and say that we were indigenous to this land, and then they say, oh, we was in Mexico where the Olmec head was found, all the Olmec heads and the pyramids are really south of North America, you know what I mean? Then they wouldn't be tied to this land. The only reason they're tying themselves to this land is because the European occupies it, and this is the richest country on the planet. This is why these people are going around saying, look at us and look at you. You know what I mean? Because like I said before, the only blacks that live in wealth are the blacks that live in European countries. The only blacks that live in wealth is blacks that live in European countries. And now we see that black Americans, now I ain't going to say just the United States Americans. Black Americans in general, the ones that come over here from the Caribbean, the ones that come over here from, you know, the south of the border, they are embarrassed when they come and endure this white supremacy. They are embarrassed of their African heritage. This is why you start to see a lot of them say, we're indigenous to this land, we're not African, we were the Indians. You know, you got dudes like Dan Calloway showing pictures of dark people with straight hair, even though all the dark dudes that I know got nappy hair, you know what I mean? And we don't have no straight long hair going back with no feathers and all that crazy stuff. You know, so blacks right now are embarrassed of their African heritage, because when you subconsciously, when they look around the planet, there's no black country that's doing well as the European countries. And all the blacks that are even living in wealth are inside the European countries. They're not independent. There's no rich like the European black countries that's independent. I'm not saying that there's no black countries outside of America that doesn't have money and that's not doing well. I'm saying that as far as being rich like the Europeans, there's no black country outside of America, Europe, Australia, all these other places where Canada, where blacks live in that system. And I think right now that blacks are embarrassed of African heritage because that's where it starts from. And those are the poorest countries on the planet. Third world countries. All the way back down to the Caribbean. The Caribbean is doing a little better, you know what I mean? Because, you know, they got a little mini boost too from the UK. But the United States is the blacks that were fresh out of slavery here still under a European government. So they live in wealth because they living under the European government. But everywhere else where blacks are independent and are on their own, they're not so wealthy. And there's a reason for that. I talked about that in my last video with the UCC codes and all that. But I think that blacks are embarrassed of their African ancestry. And that's one of the reasons why they now starting to claim indigenous. And like I said before, who's to say where we was? Were we in Mexico? Were we in South America? Was we in North America? Was we in Canada? You know what I mean? Well, who was the empires? Was we Aztecs now? Was we the Mayans? You know what I mean? How do we stay on our land and we lose all our culture? Because the Native Americans here, the other Native Americans, they didn't lose their culture. They still practice a lot of their culture. We were stripped, the blacks were stripped from everything. So how come, if you were to say you're indigenous, how come we don't have no kind of aspect of our culture? But now we're starting to see black people dance like Indians. We're starting to see black people, we starting to see black people do this. Man, it's craziness, man. And we already know that when you go through South America, all the way down to Brazil, all in the Caribbean, all those blacks over there beat the drum. They even make the drum from scratch because they still had a part of their heritage that they kept. Because you know, most of those places in the Caribbean, you know, they held on to a little bit of their heritage. Down to Brazil, but in America they was fully stripped completely of everything. So I want to let me know your thoughts on what y'all think about this, man. I just want to say I think we just embarrassed subconsciously. We embarrassed of our African ancestry, big time. Peace.